Well, g'day subscribers and welcome to Jive Talking Garage. Today we're with Tristan Coote, one of our members from New South Wales and Victoria. So Tristan's one of our founding members at Nasco Bay. So today he's joining us for our very first video podcast. So g'day Tristan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Jules, and thank you for having me along today.
Yeah, look, you're very welcome. And also it's good that you've done a bit of preparation there. I can see you've gotten us into one of your early Holdens, so thank you so much.
Yes, I'm sitting in my 1949 FX Holden.
Yes, and what part of 1949 was that one built?
It was built in June.
Okay, so it's one of the real early ones.
It is, yes.
So look, what type of car did your parents have when you were growing up, Tristan?
Well, when I was born, Mum had an Alfa Romeo,
right,
and Dad had a Ford Ute.
Yes,
it was a V8 Ford Ute.
Yeah. Now your parents were on the land, weren't they?
Initially, when I was born, they lived down in Gippsland.
Right.
Dad had a cement truck as well.
Yes.
And Mum had a shop in town,
yes,
in Langathan, and we lived at the back of the shop.
Yes.
And then when we moved up in 1983, 84, we moved up to Moolameen. Dad
right.
He bought a rice farm and
really?
took on rice farming.
Yes.
And so then he updated his cars, and Mum and Dad got a Nissan Datsun Bluebird.
Yep.
Which was a 1993 model.
Yeah, sure.
And they also Dad got a one of those Mitsubishi L200 vehicles.
Yep. Yes.
And from there, they had the Datsun Bluebird off for a long time. And besides that, when you're on a farm, you kind of don't trade your cars in because
sure.
Nobody wants the cars once they've been on a farm.
Yeah.
So they brought a Mitsubishi Magna, a 92 model, and we use that as our going out car and still just use the old, well, by then it was old, Bluebird around the farm. And
what was your first car?
What was my first car?
Yeah.
My first car was the FC.
Okay, so FC Special sedan?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Two-tone maroon white.
Nice. And do you still have I know you've got a lot of cars. Do you still have that?
Have that.
You have?
I do. Okay.
I reckon you're a pretty rare bird if that's the case, to have your own original car, you know. The first one you bought.
Yes.
No, that's fine. So what cars do you have at the moment? I know you've got a fair few, and you've also got a couple on display at the moment too.
Yeah, so the FC and my FJ Ute is on display down at Echuca at the historical beer shed, farming museum.
Yes.
And so it's been down there. I think it's going to be down there for the next few months.
Yeah.
And it's probably been down there nearly a month already.
Yeah.
And then I've got the FX that we're sitting in now.
Yes.
And then we move on to the FJ panel van.
Right.
And
now,
then
just for subscribers so they know, it turns out that we found out from a researcher that your and my cars are one number apart, so they're sister vehicles from the assembly line.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So it'll be nice to, when we pull up at a Nationals or something like that, to have both cars together again.
Yes, that is the plan.
Sounds good.
And then there's the Army Ute, the 1950 FJ Army Ute.
Now, you've had more than one Army Ute, though, haven't you?
I have to say that I did buy a wreck of an army ute.
A wreck, okay, yes.
A wreck. This was probably last year, and I hit it with the grind.
You hit it with the grinder. Well,
Yeah.
these things happen. Yeah, go on. Okay, so we've got an army ute, and that's a very rare bird within itself.
Yes. And then we've got the FX business sedan, which is in the back shed.
Right. What colour is that, Tristan? What colour is your business? Black. Okay, thank you.
And then I've got the FE. I've got an FE station wagon that I picked up not that long ago.
Yes.
Yep.
Where did you find that one?
I got that off from Bendigo, actually. A bloke down there had it.
Yeah. So how do you find something like an FE wagon? How does that come about?
How this one came about was not being able to sleep at 5:30 in the morning and hopping online to look and see what had been posted across the sites on Facebook and see it pop up. I knew the bloke that had it, and it popped up, and he'd only put it on there half an hour beforehand.
Okay.
And FE wagons are rare. They are really hard to get.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I actually bought an FC wagon that was produced on the first day.
Right, yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Many moons ago. That was probably about 1983 or 1984 I bought that. But anyway, so you got the FE wagon. What else?
And I think that wraps it up.
That brings you up to date, hey?
Also, do you want to know non-Holdens?
Sure, you can tell me anything you like.
I have an Army Land Rover as well, Series 2, 69.
So that's long wheelbase, short wheelbase?
Long wheelbase.
Okay.
Still, it's Army.
Yes.
Extra. Still got all its genuine Army stuff all over it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful. And do you do, like, what work do you do on the car?
Well, basically, I try and get hands-on as much as I can.
Yeah.
And basically, some of my cars have been professionally painted.
Yes.
Some of them I've had a go, and then people have volunteered to tidy them up for me.
Sure.
So we've ended up with a professional paint job.
Yeah.
I do a lot of the mechanicals myself. I've always done a lot of mechanical stuff on my cars.
Mm-hmm.
And I get people to help me. So,
so who does help you, Tristan?
A mate from Bendigo.
Yeah.
He gives me a hand. A mate from Rochester. He gives me a hand.
Yep.
There's a company over the north here, north to Nilkuran, called Northside Restoration, Chris Hegney. He tends to give me a hand from time to time. If there's little things that I can't do, often I call on him. Right. So he does a lot of, I suppose he does a lot of the professional stuff for me that you just have to take it to that professional to do. Sure. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
So that's it.
Now, I think you're very similar to me with your love and enjoyment of Nasco accessories. So what little doobies do you have on your cars, or what have you had on your cars in your time that's, Nasco that you've liked and enjoyed and found to be really convenient, or things that you've liked?
Well, let's start. I'm going to start with the FX here.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm actually going to I'm going to switch the camera.
Sure, that's
around.
fine. That's fine. Okay, yeah, I can see your dashboard now.
And we're going to start on with the radio. So
yes.
That is a Nasco radio.
So the Air Chief, yes.
Air Chief radio. Now, I do believe, Jules, is that this is potentially not the right radio for this car for this particular car. It's an FX FJ Air Chief radio, but the earlier ones were different. So, but all that I was happy with, that it had a FX FJ Air Chief radio.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, the good thing
maybe you can elaborate on that.
Well, I've seen the three types. There was a universal, there was an Air Chief 5 and an Air Chief 6 that I've seen advertised in the accelerating newsletters. And the 5 and the 6 made reference to the number of valves that were in the actual set themselves. And with the FX or the 48 model, when you look at their shop manual, it has a diagram in the shop manual of where to drill a hole in the firewall to provide putting a bolt through or a fastener for the other end of your Air Chief radio so that it can support it from the firewall, so that you've got it fastened by the 2 spindle nuts on the front of your radio, but also from the back as well. So it's suspended by 2 fixed points, or 2 services, 3 fixed points. That looks great. And you can see the white knobs, they look really good, because the 48215 and the FJs, other than the special, all had white knobs. So that just fits in nicely.
Yep. And the dial plates, they had to change from state to state as well.
Yes, that's correct.
Depending on what state you were in.
Yes.
Then I moved down to the holder for the gauges.
Yes, they look nice.
That's an original period gauge there.
Yeah.
So that's I don't have many accessories on this car, but that's the accessories I've got.
Well, if I can just stop you for a moment, Tristan, there's another one there I've seen that you haven't talked about, which is if you hop back in the car, on the ignition switch, you'll actually see an ignition switch scratch plate. Now, I've seen that about 4 times on cars. I've got one. Michael Bishop's got one. There's one on the late Ron Goodhue, his car, and there's one on your car, and I think Gary McGrath may have one as well. So that's 5. And there was 120,402 FXs made and 169,969 FJs. So you've got a very rare little accessory right there. Thank you. That's a great close-up.
Yep.
Now, what else were you going to show us, Tristan?
Okay. So now I'm coming round to the door with the food parcel shelf, and these were common if you were at the drive-in.
Yes.
And you would put your little drive-in speaker on the other window.
Yes.
Like so.
That's very true, yes.
And often the drive-in speaker would go on the driver's side, on the passenger side window.
Yes.
Drive-in theatres were before my time, and I believe this went on the driver's side.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you put your food here on the tray, and you would listen to the movie there, and the movie would be on the screen in front of you.
Nice.
So that's another couple of little things I've got there.
That's lovely.
Yep. I also have these
the spears. Yes, lovely.
I have
that looks immaculate. That's immaculate.
Yes, these ones are in pretty good order.
Yep.
And I've got something here that it's a Wissonia oil temperature amp gauge.
No, I think that's and they're terrific actually, as part of one of your warning lights. They're excellent.
Yes.
I'll be running one of those in my FJ.
Yes, yep. And then how are we going for time, Jules?
We're going pretty well.
Okay, well then now we're going to go to the boot of the car. And I've got a bit of a rare accessory here in the boot.
Yeah, I love your number plate, just quietly.
I thank you. Is this?
Please tell us about that.
Well, that there is the goes up underneath your. That goes on the front end.
Yes.
In the centre, and that goes, and therefore back here is your sump.
Yeah.
So it's a protection guard for your sump.
So it's a sump guard. Okay.
Sump guard, yeah.
Excellent. I haven't seen them before.
And then I've got the Nasco.
Yeah,
this
your
one's
wheel brace.
The red.
Yep.
Wheel brace.
And as viewers can see, it's nicely red. So that's lovely.
Yes. It's been painted the red.
Yes.
Yes. So I've also got here a tapestry quilt that someone made me.
No, that's lovely.
A lady in Bendigo made that for me.
Nice.
With FXs and FJs on it.
Lovely.
Yep.
And I was also going to ask, and it was remiss of me, where did you find this 48215, the 49 model?
This one was when Dad was driving a truck many years ago.
Right.
And he because you could see things high in a truck.
Yes.
There was a shed in a farmer's paddock that he passed every day.
Yes.
And this was sitting behind the shed.
Right.
We didn't know whether it was an FX or FJ or what it was, but we knew it was one of them. Mm-hmm. So we went and inquired about it after Dad had finished driving the truck, because it was seasonal rice harvest.
Right.
And we went and inquired about it, and the bloke said, "Oh yeah, you can take it away, not a problem." So
hang on. Just hang on a sec. What does take it away mean?
What does take it away means? Buy it for a price.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So we settled on a price.
Yes.
And then we and then it wasn't till we got it home. I'd had it here probably a couple of months, and someone said, "Well, this is a 49 model."
Yes.
So we didn't even know. Yes.
Yeah. No,
the bloke that I had brought it off, he was doing up an FJ.
Right.
And he originally bought the car for parts for his FJ. So he'd taken off every part that could fit an FJ, and he left all the FX rare items in the car.
Yep.
So the parts that were missing were the common parts.
Gotcha. No, that's good. No, and well, it's turned out lovely. I look at the condition of the car as you're walking around, and you can see how really good the car is, how it's well cared for, the condition of things, the level of presentation and the quality in it. So it's something to be proud of. But I was going to ask, what's your favourite car that you've owned? Everyone's got a favourite.
Would have to be my FC.
Your FC, okay. Any particular reason? Sedan. Because it's your first, or?
It's because I've had that the longest. Yes. And yes, it was my first car.
So how did you get into FJs?
Well, originally I restored the FC.
Yes.
And then what the plan was to have an FC and an FX or FJ.
Right.
And of course, so then I got this one that we're sitting in, the 49, and that was going to be it. And I was literally finishing off the 49 2 weeks after we had the bumpers away getting chrome. That's all that had to be done. And someone came along and offered me an FJ sedan,
right?
Low mileage sedan, and it for back then, it was a good price.
Yes.
So I brought that, and then look, it's a disease.
Yeah. No. I think it's more of the orphanage principle. There's always room for one more, perhaps. But what's the? You don't have to tell me what car it was, but what's the lowest price that you've paid for an early Holden?
The lowest price.
The lowest price. I'll start off. I've been given one for free. I was given an FB station sedan for free, and I bought the FC that was number. It was either number 25, I think it was. I bought that for $25. So that's the sort of, the inkling of my question.
So basically, look, I've brought them from a price of a slab of beer,
okay,
upwards. And the thing is, I've had lots of cars over the years that I've wrecked.
Yeah.
Every car that I've got, I've given someone something.
Yes, sure.
Whether it be, back in the old days, it used to be slabs of beer in the country. Around here, it was always slabs of beer.
Yeah.
So if the farmers, when we were out on the rice farm, we used to get them FCs and I'd pull them down. Yeah. I was offered lots of other cars, but would say no to them.
Yeah, sure.
Dad says now we should never have said no to anything. But they would just say, well, give me a slab of beer. Like Dad would go to the football and say, I've got an old FC there sitting behind the shed. Give me a slab of whatever.
Yeah, Tui's, VB, whatever, yeah.
You can take it away. So
what are you on the lookout for next, Tristan?
Well, my next job is to finish off the Army Ute, which the Army Ute is now running. Yes. So I'm aiming to get that registered before Anzac Day this year.
Nice.
And then I'm going to get the Army Land Rover sorted.
Yes.
It needs it's a real barn find.
Yes.
And then I'm going to move on to the FE. I'll do the FE wagon.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably look at doing the FX business sedan.
Nice. And that's black, you were saying?
That is black, yes.
Okay, right. And I was going to ask, what car shows do you like to go to, or rallies or events? What are the ones that you like best?
I like. Look, I've got to be careful how I answer this question because I go to a lot. But well, that's good. I like to go to the ones where the touring rallies where you go driving in a car. I used to go to one in Wangaratta. They called it the Wangaratta Spring Rally, and you'd go around to wineries and different olive farms and things and just drive around in the car. They would have a show and shine part of it, a bit like the Nationals. It'd go for 3 or 4 days.
Sure.
I like going to the Nationals.
Yes.
I like going to the state titles. And I haven't been to many All Holden days recently. I'd like to go to a few more All Holden days. And one thing would be a dream for me to do would be to go on an RACV rally.
Nice. Well, speaking of rallies and travelling and touring and that sort of thing, what's the furthest you've been in an Old Holden? Where's the furthest you've gone to?
We've taken the FX to we've been to South Australia in this. We took the FJ Ute to Tassie.
Yep.
I'm just trying to think the mileage, really, probably Tasmania would be the furthest that we have been.
Yep. And have you ever had any mishaps in an old classic?
Yes, one.
What happened?
We were going over to a rally in the FC. This was one of the first. The FC hadn't long been on the road. And when we had the engine done up, it seemed to have got missed that the oil pump gears had a fine hair crack in them.
Oh, really?
And of course, the oil pump gear gave way and caused the timing gear, because it was a fibre timing gear,
yes,
caused the timing gear to turn inside itself, which immediately put the engine out of timing, so it stopped.
Yes.
And so we basically, that's the biggest mishap we've had, yes.
Yeah, no, I've had something similar happen, so I understand it. Not once, but 3 times. So, yeah, I get it. No, that's fine. And I was also going to ask, what other cars do you like besides the FX, the FJ, the FE, the FC that you've got? Any others tickle your fancy?
That I have got or haven't got?
No, that you like. It might be what you have got or things that you like.
I would have to say it would be my father's 1937 Ford truck.
Okay. Very nice. And how long's Dad had that?
He's had that for probably going on about 15 years now. Sure. He fully rebuilt it. It's been fully rebuilt, and I've got to know a lot about those trucks. So, sure. That's
Well, I think you do pretty well from being in a very rural setting, and given all the Holdens that you've been able to buy, restore, do up, trade, pass on, all those sorts of, I think it's terrific. Now, any questions you've got of me? Is there anything I can answer for you? Whether it be Holden or whatever.
That's a very interesting question, Jules.
See, people only see me just presenting Nasco things and they think, oh, that bloke's got Nasco everything. And that's not the case, because there's so much Nasco. I don't think anybody could have Nasco everything.
Tell me what you know about Wybrock.
Okay, Wybrock. That's a really interesting question. Wybrock let's start from Tintax first. Nasco didn't make anything. Nasco would go to different suppliers, vendors, manufacturers, and give them the specification or a drawing of what they wanted made, be it a mirror or a alloy tappet cover. And from what I understand, and I've even spoken to Don Loeffler about this, they seem to, and when you look them up on ASIC, they're just a deregistered company. I don't know whether they morphed into Repco or whatever they were. However, they were a supplier for Nasco. They made Nasco accessories, and for want of a better example, let's just say mirrors. Now, you will find Nasco mirrors, and they're made by Wybrock. And you will find the exact same thing, and they have Wybrock stamped on them, because Nasco would specify a 4-inch mirror with Nasco stamped on it and a fixture arm from mirror to door in a particular fashion. And we would like to buy 1,000 of these, please. And so the order would go to Wybrock. Wybrock would manufacture them and duly send them to North Dandenong to the warehouse after it moved from Fisherman's Bend. But the other thing was they'd make their own. Well, they've got all the tooling. They're quite happy to make their own and just sell them for people who didn't want to buy a Nasco one. They're exactly the same thing, but they may have Wybrock stamped on them, or they might be blank. So I haven't been able to determine. I have heard one story that they were bought out by Repco, but I can't confirm that. But that's what I know about Wybrock.
Okay, thank you for that, Jules.
And then there's a few other stories about that where, you know, NASCO's had, all General Motors have had suppliers like Disco. I think 1950. So Disco made AC Delco spark plugs under license and all the wiring harness for them. And they were at the other end, just down the road from Fisherman's Bend. And as it turned out, General Motors bought Disco in 1950. So they were just getting so much business from them. They just thought, oh, well, we'll just buy the company. It's the easiest way to do it. But, you know, a lot of that happens. But look, Tristan, I would really like to say thank you for being our first participant with the Jive Talking Garage video podcast. It was a real pleasure to talk to you, and thank you for showing us your 1949 sedan and talking about your panel van and your Army Ute, and also, you know, your FE and FCs. We certainly refer to you as one of our members because you do contribute a lot. So I want to thank you, but also thanks very much for being the first person on our video podcasts.
Thank you, Jules. Thank you for having me.
It was a real pleasure. Anyway, look, you take care and we'll talk later.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye, Tristan. And by the way, Tristan, enjoy your Holden.
Thank you.
All right, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. That was great.
So we're off?
Yeah, we're off.